Okay, Nike's big guns, both in AG. We've got the Superfly 10 Elite and the Phantom 6 Elite High. Which one is better? Which one should you go out and buy? Let's find out. We're specifically talking about the AG models, so let's start there. Let's start with the outsoles. The Phantom 6 has this really nice new AG outsole with all of these conical studs, a really stable midfoot and heel, huge improvement on the previous generation, and is reasonably responsive. I think overall, big plus. The Mercurial, both the Superfly and the Vapor on the other hand, all conical studs mainly, but you do get these two bladed studs in the heel. You get these extra fins through here, and you do get the air zoom unit through the front section of the boot. It is a little more stable through the midfoot and the heel, and also a little more responsive in the forefoot. So, which one's better? I'm gonna look at it like this. If you're looking for a dedicated AG option, then the Phantom 6 is the way to go. I still think it's a decent option for a nicer FG pitch as well, but all conical, slightly shorter studs. I think dedicated AG, this is better. However, if you're looking for something to maybe use on FG and AG, that little bit more aggressiveness in the Mercurial, the slightly longer studs, even these two bladed studs through the back of the boot here, I think this just comes out as a slightly better FG AG option. It is also that little bit more aggressive if that's what you're looking for. Both really good AG options, and we'll call this section a draw, but choose based on what you need your boot to do. Next up, let's talk uppers. I'm going to trade out my Superfly for my Vapor here so that you can see it a little bit clearer. Now, they're both grip knit, which in itself I think is an entire conversation about whether Nike should be using grip knit on both of their kind of big models. Could we see something a little bit different? But that's a conversation for another time. So how does the grip knit perform? On the Mercurial, you've got a fairly light grippy feeling on the ball, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think it's a really well balanced option. It's a pretty thin boot, and it is nice and soft. In contrast, where we've got the Phantom, it is definitely a slightly more, padded's the wrong word, it is a little bit thicker. It just has more substance to it because of the ribs, because the grip knit itself is that little bit thicker, the way that it's knit. And then on this particular model, the High, you've got the two layers. You've got a fly knit layer in here to hide the laces, the ghost lacing system, and then you have the grip knit on top. So this is definitely a little bit more, I will use the word, padded, a little bit more distant than what you're going to get from the Mercurial. However, it is still very, very soft, and it is that little bit more grippy than what you're going to get on the Mercurial. So if you're looking for something with a bit more grip, you're looking for something that's not got quite that same barefoot touch on the ball, then the Phantom is the way to go. If you want barefoot, really connected feels, and you don't want quite as much grip or quite as much impact on your touch, then the Mercurial's the way to go. We're going to do two things back to back here that people are going to mention, they are going to talk about, and I don't think matter one bit. One is looks. Who cares? Like, the one that you like the best is what's important, not what I like. I realize that the Phantom is a little bit more divisive, but hell, if you like it, go for it. Looks, 100%, always a draw. We're also going to throw in here the weight, because I do not think the weight is significant enough for it to make any difference. I'm going to throw the FG Vapor on, just because these are different sizes. So anyway, this is an FG Vapor US 8 UK 7, comes in at 180 grams. And then exactly the same size, we have the Phantom US 8 UK 7, 26 centimeters, 194 grams. And now this is actually a US 7.5, UK 6.5, and that's coming in at 172 grams in the Superfly. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. Just pick the boots that have all the other aspects that you want and don't worry about the weight. You're not going to notice. Okay, let's talk about the heel, and for me personally there is one winner here, and it is the Mercurial. The Mercurial heel is just a little more pinched, it holds me in place a little bit better, and overall I'm more comfortable in it. The Phantom heel does have some benefits in being quite pinched towards the top here. It is a bit softer, it's very comfortable, but I do get a little bit of a hot spot down the bottom here, which I don't love. So for me, the extra width in the Phantom heel isn't ideal, and therefore I prefer the Mercurial heel. If you have that kind of maybe chunkier heel, the Phantom could be the way to go. But I think for most people, the heel lockdown, the heel comfort is going to be a little better in the Mercurial, but they are quite similar builds in terms of the padding and kind of what you get, but slightly softer here, slightly better lockdown here. Choose the one that you like. I prefer the Merc. Thanks for watching so far. Do remember to like the video, get subscribed to the channel, and you can become a Boot Wizard member, get videos like this way before anybody else, along with some huge discounts and a load of other cool stuff. And you do that by hitting the links down in the top pinned comment and in the description, where I'll also put some links where you can buy these boots. It's legit retailers. It helps you get great boots at great prices, and it also helps support the channel. So thank you for all of that, and quite simply for just watching the video. Now, some of you might be getting a little frustrated that I haven't made a definitive decision here, and every time it's like, well, whatever suits you. And that's not going to get any better here when we talk about the fit, the comfort, the sizing. We will start with the sizing. What size should you get? Both boots I have in my regular Nike size, which is a US 8, UK 7, and it is 26 centimeters. If you're unsure on how to measure your foot or how to get the right sizing, I will leave a link to a video at the end of this one. Then, of course, we have to talk about width, and this is where it's going to make a huge difference to an awful lot of you. Now, you can see just by me putting these side by side, there is more width through the Phantom. Absolutely, unquestionably more width. However, the way that the Phantom is built in this high version with the dynamic fit collar, the double layer, it does mean that it isn't amazing for a very wide foot in my opinion. But if you do have a wide foot, it's probably going to suit you quite well. And if you have a wide toe box, if your foot is wide from kind of this point forwards, there really is only one choice for you here. You have to go for the Phantom and not the Mercurial. The pinch on the Mercurial is really going to squeeze your feet in that area. So for me, wide forefoot, definitely Phantom. Both boots do a great job of kind of stretching and molding around your foot shape. I do find that I do get a bit of a closer fit in the Phantom though, because of the way it's designed. It really fills in. It just feels a lot more anatomical, and I get very little dead space in this. Whereas with the Mercurial, which I find on the whole has too much volume through a lot of the boot, I do have a few different spots of dead space. So the fit for me on the Phantom is better. But again, I'm sorry, this is going to come down to your foot type and what suits your foot better. Do you want that slightly higher volume, skinnier overall look, or do you want that more anatomical, slightly wider, especially in the toe box fit? It's kind of down to you and your foot shape. I do think they're both good. My preference, despite it being a little squeezy because of my wider foot, is the Phantom. So we've kind of agreed they're pretty even, but which one would I personally choose? Well, it's a difficult question to answer as well, because I prefer the fit on the Phantom. It suits my foot a little more, and I get very little dead space and a feeling of very personal fit through the boot. I also prefer the outsole on the Phantom without that air zoom unit. However, I prefer the touch and the ball with the Mercurial being that little bit closer and having a little bit less grip, and I also prefer the heel in the Mercurial. So it might come down to, what do I want to wear on the day? Price-wise, they're both going to come in at exactly the same price, the Superfly and the High Phantom. So for me, it's definitely a case of pick the one that suits your foot type the best, because the more comfortable you are in it, the better you're going to feel, and almost forget most of the rest of it, because most of the rest of it is quite similar. If you do want to check out my full review of this, or that sizing video, I will leave links here, here, and here.